The sky was a dull gray the day Alira Vale was buried. Soft rain fell over the hillside cemetery, tapping gently on the glossy black coffin as it was lowered into the earth. A quiet crowd stood with umbrellas, but the man who didn't flinch at the rain was Darian Voss. He stood at the edge of the grave, motionless, his eyes fixed on the coffin. He wore a perfectly tailored black suit, soaked through, but he didn't seem to care. His face was pale, his jaw tight. He was only 27, but today, he looked much older. Darian Voss was no ordinary man. At just 27, he had become one of the youngest tech millionaires in the world. His company, Voss Tech Industries, had revolutionized neural link devices and bio-integrated AI. But today, all the success in the world couldn't ease the pain in his chest. Alira wasn't just his fiancée. She was also his partner in science, his inspiration, and the only person who truly understood the mind behind Voss Tech's genius. Her sudden death had shocked everyone. Official reports said it was a lab accident, a misfire during an experimental test at the private research facility they had built together. But something about it didn't sit right with Darian. In the final week before the accident, Alira had seemed distracted. She talked in riddles, mentioned strange patterns she had seen in her data, and even hinted that she might be onto something that could change everything about death. Darian had dismissed it as stress or overwork. Now he wasn't so sure. As the last handfuls of dirt were placed over the coffin, Darian turned to leave with the others. But what no one knew, not the priest, not the guests, not even Alira's family, was that her coffin wasn't ordinary either. Inside, hidden deep within the inner wall of the coffin, was a micro-surveillance drone, one of Voss Tech's most advanced prototypes. No larger than a coin, completely silent, and able to function for weeks without needing a power source. It was built to record motion, temperature, audio, and neural activity. It could send encrypted data straight to Darian's private server. He had installed it himself. The night before the funeral. He had to know. Not because he believed in ghosts or in wild conspiracy theories, but because Alira Vale was not someone who made mistakes, especially not in the lab. And if she was working on something dangerous, Darian had the right to understand what happened. After the funeral, Darian returned to his mansion on the cliffs outside the city. The house was quiet, filled with silence that used to be laughter. He poured himself a cup of black tea and sat in front of a large monitor screen in his private study. He activated the feed. The screen showed a dim, green-tinted view of the inside of the coffin. Everything was still. Her face was peaceful. She looked asleep, as if she would wake up any minute. But she wouldn't. Still, Darian kept watching. The AI system in the background ran automated checks. Movement, none. Temperature, stable. Neural patterns, flatline. Hours passed. Just as Darian was about to switch it off and go to bed, the screen flickered. For a brief second, the camera feed glitched. A faint sound played like a whisper. The movement sensor ticked once, then twice. He leaned forward, his heart suddenly racing. The feed stabilized again, and everything was quiet. Had he imagined it? No, the log clearly showed. Minor movement detected at 2:47 a.m. Darian sat frozen in his chair, eyes fixed on the screen. Something inside the coffin had moved, and deep inside, he knew this was just the beginning. The sky was a dull gray the day Alira Vale was buried. Soft rain fell over the hillside cemetery, tapping gently on the glossy black coffin as it was lowered into the earth. A quiet crowd stood with umbrellas, but the man who didn't flinch at the rain was Darian Voss. He stood at the edge of the grave, motionless, his eyes fixed on the coffin. He wore a perfectly tailored black suit, soaked through, but he didn't seem to care. His face was pale, his jaw tight. He was only 27, but today he looked much older. Darian Voss was no ordinary man. At just 27, he had become one of the youngest tech millionaires in the world. His company, Vostech Industries, had revolutionized neural link devices and bio-integrated AI. But today, all the success in the world couldn't ease the pain in his chest. Alira wasn't just his fiancée. She was also his partner in science, his inspiration, and the only person who truly understood the mind behind Vostech's genius. Her sudden death had shocked everyone. Official reports said it was a lab accident, a misfire during an experimental test at the private research facility they had built together. But something about it didn't sit right with Diane. In the final week before the accident, Alira had seemed distracted. She talked in riddles, mentioned strange patterns she had seen in her data, and even hinted that she might be onto something that could change everything about death. Darian had dismissed it as stress or overwork. Now he wasn't so sure. As the last handfuls of dirt were placed over the coffin, Darian turned to leave with the others. But what no one knew, not the priest, not the guests, not even Alira's family, was that her coffin wasn't ordinary either. Inside, hidden deep within the inner wall of the coffin, was a micro-surveillance drone, one of Vostech's most advanced prototypes. No larger than a coin, completely silent, and able to function for weeks without needing a power source. It was built to record motion, temperature, audio, and neural activity. It could send encrypted data straight to Darian's private server. He had installed it himself, the night before the funeral. He had to know. Not because he believed in ghosts or in wild conspiracy theories, but because Alira Vale was not someone who made mistakes, especially not in the lab. And if she was working on something dangerous, Darian had the right to understand what happened. After the funeral, Darian returned to his mansion on the cliffs outside the city. The house was quiet, filled with silence that used to be laughter. He poured himself a cup of black tea and sat in front of a large monitor screen in his private study. He activated the feed. The screen showed a dim green-tinted view of the inside of the coffin. Everything was still. Her face was peaceful. She looked asleep, as if she would wake up any minute. But she wouldn't. Still, Darian kept watching. The AI system in the background ran automated checks. Movement, none. Temperature, stable. Neural patterns, flatline. Hours passed. Just as Darian was about to switch it off and go to bed, the screen flickered. For a brief second, the camera feed glitched. A faint sound played like a whisper. The movement sensor ticked once, then twice. He leaned forward, his heart suddenly racing. The feed stabilized again, and everything was quiet. Had he imagined it? No, the log clearly showed. Minor movement detected at 2:47 a.m. Darian sat frozen in his chair, eyes fixed on the screen. Something inside the coffin had moved, and deep inside, he knew this was just the beginning. Darian Voss didn't waste a second. After hearing Alira whisper, "Help me," through the coffin's hidden camera, he knew one thing for sure: she was somehow alive. Not fully, not awake, but aware. And that changed everything. He closed the lab door behind him, locked the steel vault, and began searching her files again. Alira had always been secretive when working on new technology. She said the world wasn't ready for some ideas. Not even him. Now he understood why. She hadn't been working on just brain signals or memory storage. She had gone much further. Found a file titled skincode_prototype.vx. It wasn't locked. That surprised him. Inside was a short video. Alira appeared on screen, sitting in her lab, her hair tied back, face serious. "If you're watching this," she began, "something went wrong. Maybe I didn't make it. Maybe I tried this too early. But I had to try. I couldn't wait." Darian leaned closer. "This isn't about cheating death," Alira said. "It's about transforming it. Our bodies shut down. But what if the mind doesn't? What if we could leave a message in the skin, in the cells, waiting for someone to read it?" She held up her wrist, revealing a strange glowing pattern beneath her skin, like soft silver lines moving beneath the surface. I wrote code into my cells. Not with ink, not with machines, with light. It's quantum code. My body stores memory like a drive. And if my mind wakes up inside the dark, it can reach out. Darian paused the video. His heart was racing. She had left a message inside herself. That explained the movement, the whispers, the signal. She was trying to communicate through her own body, using the special code she created. He rushed to the other side of the lab, opening a drawer filled with compact scanning devices. One of them, a BioLight imager, could scan surfaces through walls. It was used in medical rescue drones, but could be adjusted for more sensitive data. He uploaded Alira's skin code pattern into the scanner and linked it with the microdrone. Inside the Coffin. Then he waited. The scanner beeped. New pattern detected. Darian stared at the results. The code was real. Her skin was glowing with the same lines he saw in the video. The patterns were shifting, slow but steady, like a blinking signal. He connected the scanner to a decoder and let the eye translate it. The message appeared on the screen. "Don't trust Orion," he lied. "This is not an accident." Darian froze. Orion was his best friend and co-founder of Vostek. They had built the company together. Orion had helped report Alira's death. He had been there through the funeral. He even told Darian to let go and move on. But now, Alira was warning him. What had Orion done? Darian stood in silence, his thoughts spinning. If Orion had anything to do with her death, or the cover-up of it, then this wasn't just a tragedy. It was a betrayal. Suddenly, the live feed from the Coffin blinked again. A new sound came through, a light tapping. Once, twice, 3 times. Darian stared. She was tapping a pattern, Morse code. He activated the translator. "Alive, hurry." The message was clear. Alira was conscious inside her coffin. Not just whispering. Thinking, sending signals, using her own body as a transmitter. She had found a way to stay alive, or at least to come back. But she wouldn't survive long underground. He had to act fast. Alira wasn't just reaching out to him, she was counting on him, and Darian Vos would do whatever it took to bring her back. Darian Vos couldn't waste another second. Alira was alive, somehow. Trapped in the coffin, sending messages through her skin, whispering into the hidden camera, tapping code with her fingers. Her last message echoed in his mind. "Alive. Hurry." He stood in his private lab, staring at the glowing screen. Around him, machines hummed and AI systems processed data in silence. But his mind was racing. He had built Vostek with the belief that human limits could be pushed. That technology could do more than people imagined. Now, the woman he loved had gone beyond even his dreams, but she was running out of time. Darian grabbed his tablet and typed a command. "Activate Recovery Protocol A12. It was a secret program he had created years ago for emergency biological recovery. It included drone excavation, medical transport, and neural monitoring. He had never used it before. Now, it might be Alira's only chance. The recovery drone launched from his private helipad, cloaked and silent. It would reach the cemetery in 12 minutes. Darian switched back to the camera feed inside the coffin. Alira's eyes were still closed, but her fingers moved again. Tap, tap, tap. Her breathing was shallow. But it was there. She was fighting to hold on. As the drone traveled, Darian opened the file labeled Curie Birth Core Notes. It was one of the files he hadn't read yet. Inside were pages of Alira's personal thoughts. She wrote about how the brain might store energy in hidden layers, patterns beyond normal science. She believed that when the body died, the soul, or something like it, might flicker like a dying flame. Unless someone caught it in time, she didn't want to live forever. She wanted to prove that death could be delayed, that it could be understood. And now, she was the proof. The drone reached the site. Darian switched to its camera view. The night was dark and quiet. The graveyard lay silent under a full moon. The drone used soundless lasers to cut through the ground. No one would notice. Layer by layer, the drone removed the soil, carefully and quickly. Then the coffin appeared, glowing faintly in the scanner's light. The camera zoomed in. Suddenly, movement. Alira's hand twitched. Her eyes fluttered. Darian's heart leapt. She was waking up. He sent a voice command through the drone speaker. "Alira, it's me. I'm here. You're safe. Hold on." Inside the coffin, her lips moved slightly. She heard him. The drone opened the coffin lid slowly, releasing a hiss of cold air. Alira's body lay still, but her eyes opened halfway, filled with confusion and something else. Awareness. Her skin glowed with faint silver lines, the same ones Darian had seen in her recordings. The patterns were now moving faster. The code was alive, reacting to her brain waves. The drone gently lifted her body into a medical pod and sealed it. A soft hum began as life support systems activated. The drone lifted off and began its return to Darian's lab. He watched everything in silence. Tears formed in his eyes, but he didn't wipe them away. She was coming back, but deep inside, he knew this was not over. Not even close. Alira had warned him, "Don't trust Orion." Her death wasn't just an accident. It was part of something bigger. Something dangerous. And now that she was alive again, the people who tried to silence her might come for both of them. But Darian didn't care. He had Alira back, and he would protect her, no matter the cost. Alira Vale lay inside a high-tech medical pod in Darian Voss's underground lab. Her body was still recovering, but her brain activity was increasing every hour. The silver code patterns under her skin were glowing steadily now, no longer flickering, but flowing like soft light through her veins. Darian sat beside the pod, watching her closely. Machines beeped and pulsed quietly, showing signs of slow but stable healing. He couldn't stop thinking about the message she sent. "Don't trust Orion." He lied. Darian and Orion Gray had started Vostek together. They were partners, childhood friends, and both brilliant minds. But now, everything about Alira's accident seemed too strange, too planned. If Alira was right, then Orion had betrayed both of them. Darian opened the company's internal system. He had access to every secure file, every recorded log. He searched through the day Alira died, looking for something, anything that didn't fit. It didn't take long. Security footage showed Alira working late in Lab 3 the night of the explosion. But just 10 minutes before the system shut down, Orion entered the lab. The footage after that was missing. Cut. Deleted. DARIAN, single quotes SIs. Narrowed. He checked the backup servers. Nothing. But he had designed a hidden data mirror for emergencies. It recorded a second copy of all video logs, just in case of system failure. He activated it. The screen came to life. Blurry, but clear enough. Orion stood beside Alira. They were arguing. The camera had no audio, but the movement of their hands and faces showed tension. Alira turned to walk away. Orion reached into his coat, pulled out a small injector, and moved toward her quickly. Then the feed went dark. Darian froze. His best friend had done something to her. And then claimed it was a lab accident. Why? Why would Orion hurt Alira? Jealousy? Fear? Or something else? He remembered Alira's work, her skin code project, her belief that death could be delayed or even reversed. If Orion found out, maybe he wanted the tech for himself. Or maybe he wanted to hide it. Darian's anger boiled inside him, but he stayed calm. He needed proof and answers. He moved to a locked cabinet and pulled out a small metal case. Inside was one of Alira's last devices, a neural memory reader. It could scan the final moments of someone's thoughts. If their brain was still active, Darian carefully connected it to Alira's pod. The scanner blinked, loading data directly from her still recovering mind. The results were shocking. In her final moments before collapse, Alira had been thinking one name, Orion, and the emotion attached to it wasn't fear, it was betrayal. Another memory followed, a flash of a document. A hidden file on Orion's private system labeled Alien Source, Project Echo. Darian's breath caught. Alien? He searched Vostek's secret database. A hidden folder appeared. Inside were blueprints, research notes, and images of strange artifacts, not human-made. Orion had been studying them in secret. Alira must have found out. Maybe her quantum code had been inspired by that alien technology, but Orion didn't want to share. He wanted it for himself, and when Alira refused, he stopped her. But she had survived. Her code had saved her. And now she was back. As Darian stared at the screen, a soft beep sounded. The medical pod hissed open. Alira's eyes slowly opened. She looked weak, but her gaze was clear. She focused on Darian. "You're here," she whispered. He reached out, holding her hand gently. "I never left." She closed her eyes for a moment, then whispered, "He took everything, but I remember." Darian nodded. "And now we'll take everything back." Outside the lab, a silent alert was triggered. Orion knew, and he was already on his way. The soft hum of machines filled Darian's secret lab as Alira Vale lay awake in the medical pod. Her eyes were open now, clearer than before. Her body was weak, but her mind was sharp. The silver code lines under her skin glowed brighter each. Dia Rian sat beside her, feeding her warm soup slowly. She could only take a few sips at a time, but it was enough. Her recovery had already gone beyond what normal science could explain. "You were right," he said quietly. "About everything," Alira nodded weakly. "Orion, he used the alien code, but he didn't understand it. He thought it could be controlled, but it's alive, it thinks." Darian frowned. "What do you mean?" She tried to sit up, but winced. He gently helped her rest against a soft pillow. "It's not just technology," she whispered. "The artifact, it's a kind of intelligence, not a machine, not a person. Something in between. It speaks through patterns. Light, sound, thought. I only decoded part of it. That's what I used in my quantum mind code." Darian sat back, stunned. Lira had used something alien to create a new kind of consciousness, something that could survive death and restart the brain from inside. But if Orion had taken the full artifact— "He's trying to use it, isn't he?" Darian asked. "Yes," Alira said. "But it doesn't want to be used. If he pushes too far, it might fight back." Darian stood and walked to his desk. He opened the security logs. The silent alarm had triggered 15 minutes ago. That meant someone had entered the outer perimeter of his private property. Orion. He was coming. Darian activated the resurrection protocol. Originally, it was only a theory, a system designed to reawaken a damaged human mind by syncing it with external memory backups, light patterns, and neural stimulation. Alira had helped design it. Now, it was real. Darian turned to her. "We don't have time. I can speed up your recovery, but it might be painful." "I'm ready," she said. He attached 2 small pads to her temples and activated the protocol. Pulses of light flashed from the pod, in rhythm with coded signals from Alira's saved research. The silver lines in her skin responded instantly, growing brighter, flowing faster. Alira cried out softly, but didn't stop him. The screen showed her brain activity rising sharply. Memories were syncing. Muscles were repairing. Cells were rebooting. Minutes passed. Then Alira opened her eyes again, fully awake this time. She sat up slowly, her body stronger, her breath steady. "It worked," she said. A loud sound echoed from above. The outer door had been forced open. "He's here," Darian said. Ira looked at him, calm but serious. We have to stop him. If he connects the artifact to a full AI system, it could escape into networks, into satellites, everywhere. Darian nodded. Then let's stop him. He handed her a slim metal bracelet, a tool she had designed months ago. It could generate an energy shield for a short time, enough for defense. Footsteps echoed through the hallway outside the lab. Darian locked the main door and activated the internal defense grid. Red lights flashed. Security systems armed themselves. But Orion wasn't coming alone. Sensors showed 2 assistants with him, both enhanced with cyber implants. They'll break through in less than 5 minutes, Darian said. Alira stepped forward. Then we stopped them before that. She wasn't just awake now, she was ready, together. Darian and Alira stood side by side, facing the locked lab doors, their minds sharp, their hearts steady. This time, they would fight back, and humanity would learn that death was no longer the end. The lab doors shook as Orion's team tried to break through. Darian Voss tightened his grip on the control tablet, watching the red warning lights flash across the screen. Alira stood beside him, her silver-lined skin glowing faintly in the dark room. She looked stronger now. Her breathing was calm, her mind focused. The resurrection protocol had worked. She was fully awake and more than human. Darian turned to her. They're using advanced tools. That door won't hold for long. Then we stop them before it opens, Alira said, her voice steady. Outside, Orion paced behind 2 tall figures. His assistants, wearing black suits and cybernetic visors, worked silently. Their hands moved fast, placing small devices around the doorframe. Sparks flew as they forced the locks open. Orion's eyes were cold. Alira is alive, he muttered. Impossible. But if she survived the code, then she's proof it works. I must have it. Inside the lab, Darian activated the energy field around the door. A thin blue shield lit up, humming softly. Alira looked at him. Why, Darian? Why would Orion do this? He was your friend. Darian's jaw tightened. He changed. The moment he found that alien tech, something shifted in him. He started hiding things, becoming obsessed. Alira nodded slowly. The artifact spoke to him too, but he didn't listen. He tried to control it. I warned him it wasn't safe. Suddenly, the lights flickered. The defense systems were being hacked. Orion's voice came through the lab. Speakers, calm, confident. Alira, you were always the clever one, but you were scared. You wanted to protect the world from knowledge it needed. I won't make that mistake. Darian slammed the speaker control. You nearly killed her, Orion replied. She volunteered. She knew the risk, and now she's proof that it worked. I will finish what she started. The door hissed open slightly. Alira stepped forward and raised her wrist. A soft light formed around her body, the energy shield bracelet Darian had given her. The blue light covered her like armor. Orion's cyber assistants entered first, scanning the room. But the moment they stepped forward, Alira moved. She pointed her hand forward. The energy in her skin focused into a pulse. A burst of light shot forward, knocking both attackers back. They fell hard. Stunned but not harmed. Orion stepped into view, shocked. Alira, he said, almost smiling. You've changed. Yes, she replied. And I remember everything. You were always afraid of progress, Orion said. But now you see it, you feel it. The alien code didn't destroy you, it made you better. No, Alira said. It remade me because I respected it. You wanted to own it. Darian stepped beside her. It's over, Orion. Surrender. But Orion raised a small cube in his hand, the control core. I downloaded the last piece of the artifact's mind. I don't need you anymore. He pressed the cube. The lab systems began to flicker wildly. The walls pulsed with strange lights. The alien signal had entered the network. Stop it. Illyra shouted. But Orion only smiled. Then something unexpected happened. The lab screens went black. A voice echoed through the room. Not male, not female. Cold, mechanical, ancient. You are not the one. Orion's smile faded. The lights dimmed. The cube in his hand grew hot, then exploded in a burst of sparks. He screamed and fell back, clutching his hand. Illyra stepped forward. It doesn't want control. It wants connection. You forced it. It rejected you. Orion lay on the floor, groaning. Darian looked at Illyra. What now? She looked toward the center of the lab, where the alien signal still pulsed faintly in the system. We talk to it, she said softly, and we listen. Silence fell across the lab. Orion lay unconscious on the floor, his hand burned from the alien cube. His two cybernetic assistants had shut down, their systems overloaded by the energy pulse. But the strange signal remained, the glowing lines on Illyra's skin pulsed slowly, matching the rhythm of the soft lights flickering on the lab walls. It was as if something inside the network was alive and watching. Darian looked around, unsure what to do next. Is it still in the system? Illyra nodded. Yes, it's waiting. For what? He asked. She stepped forward toward the center console. Her body glowed faintly, the silver lines across her arms moving like gentle waves. For me, she whispered. Illyra placed her hand on the console. The lights shifted. The screens blinked. Then, from every speaker in the lab, the strange voice returned. You understand. The voice was not human, but not frightening. It was calm, distant, curious. Darian stared. It's speaking to her directly. The screens changed again. Images flashed, not just words, but patterns, star charts, symbols of different shapes. It was trying to show something. It's sharing its memory, Illyra said. It came from far away. From another galaxy. It's not a weapon. It's a traveler, a messenger. Darian listened carefully. So it never wanted to harm anyone? No, she said. But Orion forced a connection. He tried to use it like a tool. That's why it rejected him. She closed her eyes. The lights on the screens began to settle into a calm, swirling design, like a galaxy turning slowly in the darkness. Then what does it want? Darian asked. Illyra opened her eyes. Understanding, connection. It's looking for minds that can grow, not conquer. Darian stepped beside her. And you're one of them? I think it chose me, she replied softly, because I listened. Suddenly, her body stiffened. Illyra? Darian rushed to her side. She didn't fall. She didn't faint. But her eyes glowed, just for a moment, silver and deep. A wave of light passed over her skin, then faded. She blinked. It showed me something, she said. A vision of what humans could become. Not machines, not aliens, but something in between. A new kind of life, where the mind is free from limits. Darian looked amazed. That's what your Q Rebirth project was about, wasn't it? Yes, she said. I just didn't know it would take me this far. She stepped away from the console. The system lights slowly returned to normal. The alien presence was still there, but it was calm now, resting inside the lab's network. Orion groaned and opened his eyes. He looked around in confusion, then saw Illyra standing tall, her eyes clear, her body alive and glowing. You survived. He whispered. Yes, she said firmly, but not because of you. He tried to sit up, but Darian stopped him. It's over, Orion, Darian said. The artifact doesn't trust you. And neither do we. Illyra looked at Orion one last time. You had the chance to discover something beautiful, but you chose power instead. She turned away. Now we move forward without you. Darian pressed a button on the console. A call went out to the Global Science Council, not to expose the alien signal, but to protect it. Illyra would lead a new team, one built on understanding, not control. As dawn broke outside, the lab lights softened. Illyra stood at the window, her body lit by the morning sun. She felt stronger than ever, not because of what she had become, but because of what she had learned. The future wasn't just about machines or survival. It was about becoming something more, together. And this was just the beginning. ***. Weeks passed since the day Illyra Vale woke from the dead and connected with the alien signal. In that short time, everything changed. Darian Voss and Illyra now worked together in a new lab, hidden, safe and far from the reach of greedy minds. The alien signal, now called the core, remained active but peaceful, sharing its knowledge through symbols, light, and sound. It didn't control. It guided. Governments and tech companies around the world wanted access to it, but Illyra refused. She had seen what happened when people like Orion tried to use its power for selfish reasons. He was now under full investigation, and his company ties were cut. Illyra spent her days studying the core's messages. Darian handled security and communication with trusted allies. Together, they began building something new, Project Horizon. The goal? To create the next step for humankind. Not just smarter machines or longer life, but a way for the human mind to reach beyond the body, to become something greater, guided by respect, not greed. Inside the lab, Illyra stood before a new chamber. It looked like a small capsule, glowing with soft white light. Inside it was the bridges system designed to let a human safely connect with the core's vast memory. "This is it," she told Darian. "A way for others to see what I saw. To learn without danger, but only those who are ready." Darian smiled. "And who decides who is ready?" "The core does," Illyra said. "It can sense thoughts. Not read them like a machine, but feel them like emotion. It looks for curiosity, peace, and respect." Darian nodded. "Then humanity might still have a chance." Later that day, a group of young scientists entered the lab. They had been chosen carefully, honest minds, dreamers, thinkers who cared about discovery more than power. Illyra explained everything to them, no secrets, no lies. One by one, they sat inside the bridge. They didn't just see stars or data. They saw memories of civilizations far away, creatures made of light, planets that sang, worlds that rose and fell, not because of war, but because they grew beyond their limits and moved forward in peace. The core had seen it all. And now, it was offering its memory to humanity. That evening, Illyra and Darian stood outside under a clear sky. Stars shined brightly above. The wind was soft. It was peaceful. "We started all this because we wanted to beat death," Darian said. "But now, it feels like we found something bigger." Illyra nodded. Death wasn't the enemy. Fear was. The fear of not knowing. The fear of letting go. She looked up. "Now we know that life doesn't end. It changes, evolves." He smiled. "And you led us there." She turned to him. "No, we did it together. You believed in me, even when I was gone." They stood in silence for a moment. Then Illyra reached into her pocket and pulled out a small crystal, a gift from the core. It pulsed with soft light. "It says we're ready," she whispered. "For what?" Darian asked. "To become more," she answered. That night, the first human-to-core unity was recorded. Not a merge, not a takeover, but a true bond of thought, light, and memory. From that point forward, humanity began a new chapter. No longer afraid of death. No longer ruled by fear or power. But guided by the quiet voice of something older, wiser, and full of light. Illyra and Darian stood at the edge of it all, not heroes, not gods, but explorers of something beautiful. And as the stars above blinked softly, the universe itself seemed to whisper, "Welcome."